All right, good evening, everyone. I want to thank you for joining us for this executive committee meeting of Brooklyn Community Board 9 on May 16th. I'm sorry. I know. I'm sorry. May 21st.
Yeah.
May 21st, our next to last executive committee meeting of the year. We are now calling the meeting to order. Madam Secretary, please note we are gaveling in at 11 minutes after 7. Okay. All right. The rules of order are in effect for this meeting. We're going to waive reading the rules. At this time, we are going to go straight into item number 2, which is the committee chair check-ins. At this time, we can start. I'll tell you what, Parks, Mr. Allen, do you have a report for Parks?
I'll come back to that. They're going to bring it up.
Fair enough. Okay, environmental protection.
Good evening, everyone. Unfortunately, I do not have a report. We did not meet this month. We did not meet last month. We did not, I wouldn't say we didn't meet, we didn't have a quorum. So we decided to not meet. So hopefully we can, tie up some loose ends in the June meeting.
Okay. No, thank you very much for that. Okay, and just as a note, so for all the chairs who are present as well, as we're wrapping up, I would definitely like for that to be part of the conversations for your committees in terms of hopefully doing a year overview in terms of the things that have been accomplished, and also help to set up an agenda in terms of what are the things that we should be continuing on to the next year. We want to make sure that we keep momentum, so if there are projects going on or things that initiatives we need to continue on, that we have those documented and we're able to pick up, so that way we're not starting from scratch when we start the new year. All right, but thank you very much for that. And also, I would also ask, we need to make sure we're monitoring attendance as well. So,
Yeah, normally we do.
yeah, so for new members, we haven't assigned committees yet. We're leaving them free to float and just kind of sample what's going on with different committees. They'll be assigned as of the fall, and we'll be, tracking their attendance for them. But if anybody who's currently on your roster should still be there. And to that point as well, if you still have people who haven't been showing up, please let me know. All you need to do is send me a letter saying that I've been attending, whatever the attendance issues are, and we can still get them off. So hopefully you can still make your quorum for the last one. So if there's any, room to. Okay, well, thank you very much. If I could, Suki, do you have a report for land use and subcommittee of yes?
Yeah, I hope did my minutes go up yet? Okay, so I'll just report. So land use committee on the 14th, we had Councilmember Crystal Hudson and Borough President Antonio Reynoso. So there was a good exchange, I think, between the committee and the members of the public and the elected officials. People just had not seen them the whole year and really wanted to hear from them. And the council member talked about her land use framework for District 35, which was actually quite focused on housing and housing AMIs, the options that she would like to see in rezonings. There's 3 different tracks. I think one is an extremely low income track where 80% of the housing would be affordable and low income. The second is like a co-op type of thing. What would be, I think it's called like the Open Door program, where you would have partially city subsidized co-ops for 80 to 130% of AMI. So not low income, relatively high income, but still subsidized ownership. And then the third track would be mixed income, similar to MIH option 1, but a little bit better. So instead of the 10% at 40% of AMI, and then the remainder, averaging around 60% of AMI, she wanted to see 15% at 40% of AMI, 15% at 60% of AMI, and then another 5% at 80% of AMI or higher. So it's like a slight improvement from MIH option 1. And then she outlined other design priorities like accessibility. She called it like universal design principles, but it basically sounded like things like handicap accessibility, like seniors, making it more accessible for seniors, some guidelines about public spaces and things like that. Did not really talk about zoning, about height and density. Was kind of set in the framework that these are things where she wants to get the developer to engage in a conversation with the community, but not that she would necessarily approve a rezoning if these criteria were met. She said that she had not commented yet on the Empire Boulevard rezoning, which was filed for, but has not been certified. It hasn't entered the public review process. On 962 Franklin, she said she continues to maintain that she would not support any development that harms the Botanic Gardens. The Botanic Gardens is apparently still doing their shadow analysis. Their representative came, they're still doing their shadow analysis. The Franklin Avenue developer had offered kind of a stepped back massing. He wasn't going to reduce the basic height or density, but he was going to change the design of the building in a way that he said would help to reduce the shadows on the Botanic Gardens. But the DEIS from the Environmental Impact Statement from City Planning was still showing up to 2 hours of shadows on the greenhouses. And so that was something that came out in the City Planning Commission hearing that happened recently. So he said that as far as he was concerned, the 14-story development would still be a problem for them, but they hadn't had a chance to fully analyze the new design because they don't have all the information they need. We're also waiting to hear that. It's obviously a massive development. I think, the commissioners have expressed some concern about that. Nobody wants to see shadows of the Botanic Gardens. But I think there were some commissioners who wanted to see if maybe a compromise, something between the current 6A zoning and the 8A zoning would reduce shadows, and GCP said no, wouldn't really, because that's why it was zoned 6A in the first place. And I think there was even one commissioner who was asking, well, what if we could upzone it to R8A, but without any affordable housing, without the mandatory inclusionary housing? And the chair, so it was actually an interesting question, because she said, would that be possible? And the staff from GCP was kind of it was our understanding that it was always an administration policy never to approve upzonings without affordable housing. And then she said, but it's a policy, right? It's not the law. And they were like, yeah. And then the chair goes, well, it's an important precedent that we have affordable housing. And that, that's an interesting point, because MIH actually does not. It did not put a requirement into city law that we shall never have upzonings without affordable housing, but at the same time, it would probably be prohibited because it's a spot upzoning. You have to, there's no public purpose or public benefit attached to it. It becomes a spot upzoning, which you can't do it. So that was kind of quite surprising to me that the questioning went in that direction. What else? So people were asking about City of Yes. They were asking the borough president what his take on it was, and he said, I'm not in favor of putting the burden on Black and brown communities, but maybe he didn't realize what the impact would be on our community, because we already have this zoning that doesn't match our buildings, and so the additional upzoning would push over the majority of homes and smaller buildings into demolition, particularly in the more affordable sections of the district, because this is what developers do. They buy cheap property and demolish it and they put up a condo building. So what else? so the borough president also said that he wouldn't support, like, I think he said he would support an R8A zoning. Is that what you heard as well? Like, he was kind of like, oh, that would never happen, that would never happen. So I think that there's, just a sense that they would not do anything that would cast shadows on the garden. But he also, was saying like, oh, don't you guys want to have some control over the as-of-right zoning? You're getting all of this development anyway, but you don't have any say over it. Don't you want to have some say over it? And so you should tell us, like, what you want, what would an ideal situation look like for you. So that was kind of it. And am I missing anything? Our subcommittee met to discuss City of Yes again. That has been certified, it has entered the public review process. And so it'll hit the 60-day mark at the end of June, so we need to get our recommendation out by this month. And so the committee, the land use committee, will be bringing forward a recommendation. We mostly talked about universal affordability, and I think, I'm in favor of it, because the affordability levels are not that affordable for our district. They're basically kind of set around median income. They're not for lower income people who need affordable housing. And because these increases are, first of all, very large, and second of all, they're not the same across the city. It's not what the city is saying, that it's a little bit everywhere. It's a lot in this district and maybe some other districts that have similar types of zoning, but it's not a lot in, districts in other types of districts. And, and once again, it's voluntary, right? So it leaves the option up to the developer, really, if they're going to build affordable housing. And, from what we've seen, they always want to do the most profitable things. So they're going to build this affordable housing in neighborhoods where it's not actually affordable, where it represents market rate housing. Just the, inevitable. And so, so we're not in favor. That's all.
There's a lot there. There's a lot, and definitely want the exec committee and for all of our members. I personally always I've had an issue for a while in terms of, I think that there's a lot of these conversations that are scheduled this way on purpose, and I'll talk a little bit about that as part of my chair's report. But we have a lot we need to take care of in a very short period of time. So we have the 962 Franklin, which is in public review. We are in that period. We have to have everything done by the time we adjourn for the year on June 24th. So there is a hearing that's going to happen, as well as another hearing for City of Yes, because is that economic development? No, housing opportunity. So the housing opportunity is also coming up. So there's going to be a lot of moving pieces. Dante and the team are working on trying to organize that. I just put that out there. I just need to make sure everyone is aware. June is going to be a rough month. So everybody, please hang in there. Please make sure you're reading the materials. You're going to get a lot of materials coming from the committee and the subcommittee. It's important that we read these things because these things are going to change the way developments happen throughout the city, and especially the way they happen in the district as well. I think one of the upshots, just to oversimplify things, is that it really makes as of right a lot of things that normally would have been conversations for as part of rezonings or whatever. So it's very important that we weigh in and we point out the things that are important to this district. But thank you for that. But again, just to say thank you to you and your committee for all the work you're doing in the subcommittee as well. And we're working on trying to get all that taken care of, and there'll be a lot of things coming up. But thank you for that. Are there any questions for the land use chair? We'll take a call. Everybody's sufficiently scared that we get hard.
I mean, I really, I happen to live in a landmark district, but if you don't, I really can't stress enough that this is going to really change the face of the district. may not happen overnight, may not happen in 2 years or 5 years, but ultimately it will redevelop anything in this district that is not landmarked. And even for the landmark districts, many of them do not have appropriate zoning, and so you are gonna see like weird towers popping up in weird places that you do not expect due to air rights transfers. And, you know, if you're completely like turning over a community or doubling the number of units, that is, you know, that's a whole new community. I really don't know how to say that this is kind of an emergency, you know.
You said it, it is an emergency. It's the site, it's an emergency. All right, thank
I have
you
one
very much.
question.
Oh, go ahead.
I mean, you know, there's the option of pulling the emergency brake and kind of slowing things down. But do you guys have any like ideas of ideal solutions that you might have put forward for what we can do or what should be done instead of what's happening?
I mean, yeah, I think the right thing to do is actually what the city council had suggested, which is they need to go neighborhood by neighborhood and look at what the appropriate, you know, give everyone a housing target so that everyone does something, but they need to give individualized solutions because zoning is different, the landscape is different, the needs are different, and the market is different in every district. But, so that's something that's slated to kick in 2025, but until then, this is what we're looking at. And, you know, we're not starting in the same place as every other district. And I'm sure there are lots of other districts who feel the same way, that, you know, their situation is different, and it's not just, you know, there might be like a couple of districts where it actually worked out, that they're getting like a little bit more housing everywhere, but for a lot of us, that's not how it works, you know.
Well, that's the thing, I think part of the problem is, there will be a little bit more housing everywhere, but it still doesn't address some of the issues in terms of the affordability aspects of it, neighborhood character, the preservation of neighborhood character, the upward pressures on the current rents and everything else. I mean, there's just a bunch of things where I'm not sure, and, you know, definitely I'm looking forward to seeing the document. There's a lot of things that I don't think get solved.
Yeah, and there's potentially just a lot more housing in that district. A lot more. I mean, like, I'm sure all of you saw when you came in what happened on the corner here, right? That's gonna be like increased by 60%, which means maybe instead of like adding 3 stories out of that shell, he demolishes the whole building. It's bad enough that he emptied the building to add that shell, but.
All right, then, but thank you for looking into the report for the questions. All right,
I have one question.
Oh,
So then, will ULURP or somebody send our issues, our opinion about this to the city council people in our
Yeah.
district?
Yeah.
Do they know how we feel already?
that'll be the vote we take in June.
Okay.
So there's actually gonna be a
So they have like
recommendation.
no idea how we feel? Or-
It's not how we feel until we vote on it as a board.
Okay.
So that's part of the role that land use is doing, they're actually creating that recommendation
I
for the
mean,
board,
what-
and that's what we're gonna vote on.
Yeah, so once again, we have been inviting our elected officials to come to the meetings. Crystal Hudson did come to the meeting on the 14th. And she heard what people had to say. And, you know, I don't know that we're at the same place with all of our elected officials, but I think people should keep in mind that it's a conversation. It's not like school where there's a right answer and a wrong answer. It's politics, and you have to keep talking to them. You know, you just have to keep talking and saying what it is that our district wants.
One quick follow-up question. I know that, I mean,
Last one. We have to do last one.
it seems like, I mean, I heard you said earlier that like developers will, you know, they have a certain in general, right? But like in every business, I'm sure there are different types or different, you know, developers that might have targets for different kinds of buildings. Some might not be interested in glass towers, others might be more interested in like smaller scale buildings because it's the type that they can afford and the product that they want to get, right? Has there been any sort of thought by anyone about making it easier for those developers to get access to the district, which the people who might want to build what we might want to have built here, as opposed to just have developers of all shapes and sizes circle us like vultures and just drop the biggest tower they can.
So, our elected officials were among the prime sponsors of a bill called Faith-Based Affordable Housing Act. Has anybody heard about this at the state level?
Yeah.
So the idea is, you know, you have a faith-based organization that's maybe more mission-driven, that it is a nonprofit, that might have a lot of land to develop, and they do own a lot of land in this district, and maybe they would have more of an incentive to build the kind of deep and affordable housing that we need. So that did not pass in the state budget. I think there, you know, I appreciate the intent of it, which is to promote that development by those developers. There were some concerns about it, like whether it would impact landmarks, you know, that was constructed in a certain way. I mean, basically it's this whole thing again that we're gonna allow certain types of developers to just like dispense with zoning, right? Which is probably not such a good idea, but I think the idea of looking to faith-based developers and talking to them about what they could do and what the community would be happy with might be a good idea. I mean, we saw one already at I don't know if you remember this. This was about a year or two ago when Pat was chair at 777 Rutland. There was a church that wanted to build 100% affordable housing. It's going to be like low-income and supportive housing. And they wanted to go from essentially the same thing that all of these developers are asking for, which is to double the density and double the height, and except that they were going to do 100% affordable with no parking, and the community was very opposed to that for all of the above reasons. But I think, you know, maybe with a faith-based developer, there's at least a better opportunity to talk about what the community wants in terms of the population we want to address and the size of the building and everything. Maybe not. Maybe you'll find that they're all in that boat. I think we'll talk to them.
All right, we're gonna move on. Ms. Rapapos, do you have a report for economic development?
Yes, so, the beginning of our meeting, we had, someone from, what was it called? Brooklyn Legal Aid Society. He was great. He told us about all the services that they offer, so we're having him come to our breakfast on June 4th. We've been distributing flyers. It's actually very difficult and takes a lot of time, we've all found. Not the funnest job in the world. But it's been going pretty well. I think people are excited. People kind of just want to like hang the flyer up, and we have to sort of be like, no, we want you to come to this event. It's like, they're like, no, we'll put it in the window. It's like, that's cool, but like, we want you to come. So that's been like that had been my biggest struggle going through door to door. But people seem excited. We got a coffee donation and the location secure, and it's in like 2 weeks. So we have one more meeting before it. And then I guess we won't even really be able to recap because we won't have a meeting after, which is kind of a bummer. But yeah, I hope it's the first of many events. Right now we have 15 RSVPs. Hopefully we get like at least 20 people there. Rita Joseph's coming and she's gonna talk. We have like a bunch of speakers, some unconfirmed, some floating around last issues to do, but I think it'll be a good event. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, and thank you for all the work you're in the committee doing.
Yeah.
This is a great first of many.
Yes,
So
I agree. I feel like there's a lot of disjointedness in our district. Like Flatbush is its own thing, and Nostrand is its own thing, and Utica. Like, so people don't really know each other. And they may have heard of each other, but so it should be good.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, what's the location? Where's?
Hausenstubel, which is on 11.
I think Nostrand and Fenimore.
Yeah.
Nostrand and Fenimore.
Sydney?
Do you want the exact?
That was a German name.
Yeah.
Was
Oh, yes, I know.
outside. And you probably have a deal by then.
1184 Nostrand.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You can add me as a RSVP.
Great. Okay.
It's a Saturday?
It's a Tuesday
It's a
morning,
morning.
9 to 11 a.m.
Yeah, I'm planning to be there too.
Okay, great.
I just
My
want to
show, too.
confirm, I have a question. The person that
It's on my
came
show.
to Walkinston, came, I think,
Yeah,
2 days
yeah.
before, did he confirm that?
No, I have to email him.
Okay, and I'll reach out to him and say.
Yeah.
Yes, he's
Well,
interested in
Do you have
working on
his
those.
email? Do I have his
Yes.
email? Will you give it to me?
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
All right, are there any questions for the economic development chair?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, can board members come? I got the answer to that already.
Okay, you can
Other
go.
question is, are businesses
$10.
outside? Are businesses like slightly outside of
No,
District 9 of it?
no.
Well,
Like I had to draw a line
Okay.
because it's not, yeah,
Fair,
it's not our district. So, like a lot of people were like, ooh, can I have that? And I'm like, where exactly is your business?
They're like the next side.
It just didn't make sense, like,
Okay.
yeah.
So,
I have one last question.
Yeah.
Is any organization like Bridge Street gonna be?
Yeah, Bridge Street Corp's coming, SBA's coming, there's a lot of, yeah, we can,
Okay, great.
who else is coming? The guy from Legal Aid's coming. Joseph. The Brooklyn Chamber, yeah.
do you have anybody coming from Small Business Services?
Well, I have Jonathan from the Brooklyn Chamber coming. I feel like he can cover a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
SBS might be good too, though.
Yeah?
They have
Yeah,
a bunch of stuff.
Who should I get? Okay,
Yeah, we can make that
Okay,
connection.
great.
They're really good and they offer a lot of training and,
Yeah.
and resource and access to resources too.
yeah,
So.
actually.
And especially it's like if you're an established business or even if you're thinking of starting one. So that might be a good
Yeah.
advantage.
Maybe the city of NWB office also.
That's a good idea, to get people registered and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, who handles the, like, if people want to register city vendors, who handles that?
People wanna what?
Depends what they're registering for, but consumer and worker protection,
Okay. And I offer that only because there is, one of the things that's always hard is that city agencies are required to go to registered vendors.
Yeah,
So if there are businesses who want to register to do
Yeah.
business with cities,
City, yeah.
this would be a great opportunity
Yeah.
to tell them, listen, this is how you do it, this is what the process is. Even if they just mention this is something that's available, you may have businesses that might be able to take advantage of that and actually sell, do business with the city and
Yeah.
make money that way. So
yeah. Okay,
that'd be great to make that introduction.
cool. Thanks.
But again, thank you for everything you're doing. I look forward to the breakfast.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what the conversation was with the legal aid person, because I'm, hearing more things about people potentially losing their lease. I don't know if you heard, like, Scoops is
Yeah.
losing their lease again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Scoops pays like almost nothing also.
so maybe he needs to work with someone to
Yeah,
understand
legal aid
what-
basically they do housing stuff, they do a lot of lease stuff, so like
Okay.
before you sign the lease would be a great time to review it with
Yeah.
them versus like after when you have an issue
Yeah.
and you're stuck. And then they do nonprofit work. So we have like Carmen from Kitty Science coming, for example.
Okay.
She might like be able to work with them for
Right.
some nonprofit stuff. I don't know what, but
Right.
so yeah.
All right, going around the table. Ethan, do you have a report for transportation?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So the fair, we voted on it officially, did everything for that. So we organized, we're gonna get the items and that stuff. So that's generally also. It's gonna be at McNair Park at the general fair. So that's pretty much taken care of in a way. And we also finalized, so like, regarding other things in the district election, we we also finalized some guidelines for all of the shared aspects of travel here. So things like car share, city bikes, and bike lanes. We consolidated those into one recommendation. We finalized and added a few things to previous ones and basically combined them into one larger package, essentially. And we're gonna keep doing this for every group of items going forward. So future ones are gonna be around parking, around particularly, and we're gonna kind of tackle problems in a larger scale that way. And that was part of the plan since last year. We just wanted to take care of the major outliers first and put those away. But now we're kind of on the large scale habit. So we're taking care of the later, but right now we have shared transportation taken care of. So we have a group of these guidelines for city bikes, for the car share, as well as finalizing some of the bike lane network expansion that we were looking at. We had some adjustments to it after talking to Christian Business Community and Kingston, and it's pretty much all set. We don't think we have any big opposition to it at all. And we also took care of a lot of neighbor concerns around things like timing when it comes to car share limitations being removed, because one of the companies that's part of it, Getaround, they left the state 2 months ago. So they don't operate here anymore. Who wants to have tickets for parking and car share spots that can't get filled? Wow.
There's a new sign that just went up on Winthrop.
For Getaround?
Just went up because
Yeah,
they spray painted over it because everyone was like F this, and they spray painted over and they parked there, and then they put a new sign up like a week ago.
Yeah, they've been out of the state for like 2 months now.
Wow.
They quit New York.
So can we park there?
Technically,
At your risk.
I know.
Yeah,
That's so messed up.
right. There's
I will.
There's no system around it, and they basically
Like
said
fresh
that's-
sign.
That's wild.
I'll send it to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm happy we have these conversations.
Yeah.
'Cause these are the things that have been pain points in terms of, these things proliferate
Right.
crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
now we have them proliferating for a company that's not even here. So
It's
yeah, that makes
ridiculous.
sense.
Exactly.
And I'm sure the neighbors who probably got tickets over that. as well.
Yeah.
So that's very helpful for the district office.
So I have a question for you about this as well. Do you
Well,
guys-
before we go to questions, do you have anything else for your report?
That's mostly it, but I do want to say that we may amend some of these to add things, because in the interest of time and we want to get the biggest solutions out, and if we have some additional ones we want to add to that, we are going to revisit and probably amend. Like for example, for city bikes, right now we just wanted to reaffirm that we want to prioritize them being on the sidewalk as opposed to road beds whenever possible, and that's something that people here generally agree with. But in future, we do want to introduce a bit of a system for maybe downsizing them or removal if, in cases of like underuse, like let's say you have a 20 count, bike station and it's only being used 5 times a day, that might not match the size that's there. So we want to do more thinking to that and introduce that at a later time. But we do want to send this forward for like the May generally as is, because it's fine as it is, but we will want to revisit it and add some things to it.
Okay. I mean, the main thing is going to be, and thank you for all the work that you're doing with that as well.
Mhm.
The main thing is whatever work you're coming up with, make sure that it's going to come to the exec so that we can push it to the full board.
Yeah.
Because we want to make sure it becomes a board position in terms of this is, what the district's thoughts are in terms of policy. What are you doing with car shares? What are you doing with bike shares? If we want to get data as well in terms of, okay, well, listen, what is the
We
use
have
of
it.
it? Perfect. I mean, I know, and that's
Yeah.
great. So if you have it, that's fine. But I just want to make sure that we're able to push that to the board level so that way we can have the conversations that this is the official position of the board.
I can send it to the board.
Okay.
Anytime.
No, send it to the board. I mean,
Yeah.
but hold on. Let me hold off on that.
Yeah.
Only because I got to look at what the agenda, depending on what action items we have, because it's going to be very packed for the next couple of months. But, yeah. Send us what you have. Is it something that, well, hold on. Is it going to change much?
No.
This is what it is.
We're not going to walk back any of it. It's very base level.
Okay.
And we're taking time with the more nuanced pieces of it. So we're not going to undo any of this. we're gonna probably add to it in the future. We're not gonna go back on it.
Okay, so let me ask this, how long would it take for you to present this at the general board meeting, if you push it to the, on the agenda?
Now you can do it immediately. You know, and like you're gonna how long it would take? Probably 5 minutes.
Okay, because we wouldn't have more than that. All right, so. let me
It's not
just
gonna
put-
be there for long.
So let me put that as an action item then, for the agenda. So these are guidelines, for which one is the one you have ready?
Hmm?
Which is the one you have ready right now?
They're all one time.
One package.
One package?
See,
Okay. So you said guidelines for shared service, shared
share transportation.
transportation. Okay. All right, so I have that as an action item, so when we get to the agenda portion of that, we'll put that on. Make sure it gets to the board, we'll make sure it goes out as part of the material, so people can prep for that, and it'll be something we vote on at the board.
I'll make a cool name for it so we don't have to say the,
Cool name, that was,
say the mouthful.
cool name's always,
Yeah.
shared transportation you had. All right, was that it? So you have any other
That's it.
items? All right, we will take a couple of questions, but I want to move this one, we'll make sure we get out.
Oh, one question, I wanna know what the update on the B41. Regarding,
The 41 or 49?
49.
41, I'm talking about 41,
Flatbush?
Flatbush, and also the 49 also.
We didn't talk about 41 yet.
Oh, okay, I really wanted to know.
Yeah,
I know that
I
was
can
in
get
the-
that.
That was in the hop and the off.
Well, let me jump on that a little bit. That's been a conversation that I think we should probably check in and see what happened, because there was supposed to be a whole Brooklyn bus network redesign.
We designed that, but the 41 was, what, I mean.
Well, no, I'm saying, 'cause they were doing all of
But
Brooklyn.
this.
They were doing all of Brooklyn, and I know that they were talking about some stuff with Flatbush, and we had started having a conversation with respect to that, because that's a really tough corridor, especially for some, I mean, they were talking about bus lanes at some point, which becomes difficult in our stretch of the district, because Flatbush narrows. But Dante, let's please, if we can, let's re-engage with them and find out, where are they with this one, as opposed to, you know, before we find out over the summer that all of a sudden.
All of a sudden, they dropped something like that.
Yeah.
Well, my colleague, a colleague of mine, I won't mention, called me today to inquire if the MTA, DOT had actually reached out to schedule to come to our transportation committee meeting, and they haven't reached out, but they did reach out to other boards, so. So that's happening, so I'll follow up with DOT to see what that is, but yeah, I got that call.
All right, so Dante, yeah.
Did you get any feedback from DEP?
No, not yet, but I'll follow.
All right, Suki, well, we do have to, so Suki, who else has a question for
for a
everyone?
while.
I-
Yeah, you had a question.
Yeah.
No, I mean, what I'm just saying is, who else has a question? Because we're gonna have to move.
Yeah.
Who else has a question? Seeing none, Suki, go ahead.
Do you have anything that you put together on, your position on parking or like district's concerns about parking in general, parking availability?
That's gonna be our next thing for like when we have the June meeting, because the next thing that we're gonna be taking care of that. And one thing we are gonna support, I think, is parking minimums at this point. Because we notice that parking is going off street. It's been a borough priority for a while, city priority as well. And I mean, here, we're not necessarily a transit desert, but people do drive quite a bit in the district. So if the parking goes off street, we want it to, go somewhere instead of just disappear into oblivion and never, be seen
Or
again.
just be double parking and completely
Right.
parking.
Right. So I mean, that's a problem that can be alleviated with parking that's either in buildings or underground. And like having some of that within reason, I think makes sense. Instead of just imagining that cars are gonna go away, So,
And that's gonna be part of the problem, because definitely to the housing options, one of the things they're talking about is minimizing,
Removing parking minimums.
removing parking,
Right.
or removing the parking, requirements.
maybe that could be a good reason for a joint session between two committees where we can talk about that.
Yeah,
Because I do think there's gonna be a breaking point where people can feel the lack of parking.
yeah, I'm gonna send out an email to you guys about all of these things. Even on individual applications, it comes up, like with Franklin Avenue, he asked for a parking waiver and was supposed to do a parking analysis and did not. He just waved it away and said, oh, no one here drives, so it won't matter. I want to at least see the analysis, and it would have been helpful if he did the analysis, then you would have some data, but he didn't. And so, like, if you at least have a position, I have something that I can work with. The second thing is, I with respect to B41 and what might be coming from DOT, I did hear something about like changes to Lincoln Road, that there might be an open street there over the summer.
Interesting.
Is that?
I think.
The streets.
Wait.
Wait, the summer streets? Are you talking about summer streets? Or are you talking
I don't
about
know-
making it
I
a
don't know
one
what
way?
it is. What I
No.
heard was that they were gonna make it some kind of open street.
Right.
Yes.
That's
Rita Joseph's been trying to do
They have been
that.
trying to do that for a
This
while.
has like been her project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess, so in our recommendation, we have a redesign
Okay.
for Lincoln Road where
Okay.
we propose it to be a one-way westbound,
Okay,
and we add a bit of a two-way bike lane to that.
so that's
So-
separate. This is
That is
Separate,
separate,
yeah.
but it probably might alleviate a bit of that pressure to make it an open street, because it is a park artery, it goes into Prospect Park, and like the supermarket's there, it's a pretty popular walkway, and it's also very busy with trucks and buses and everything. And it's a skinny two-lane street when it comes to like, it's a two-way, two-lane street with parking, it's kind of a mess.
Okay,
And we're thinking if we can kind of downgrade that congestion a bit, it might kind of get people off of our back when it comes to making it an open street.
I just, like, have you reached out to DOT or the council member on this? I do know that it was put on our board's, like, priority list at some point in past years, it's one of those things that gets thrown on there, and, so I don't know if that's where they got it from. It came up at my neighborhood association meeting, everybody was like, no, and she laughed, and Rita Joseph was there, she laughed, she was like, okay, so I don't really know, like, what you guys heard.
I'll be the last one to hear anything.
Yeah, not enough.
Well, I mean, if she was gonna turn it into an open street for the summer, she'd have to get a permit and stuff, right?
Right.
So, is that open information?
Yeah, that would be open information, yeah.
And I'm a little bit concerned in the sense that we've heard precious, so we're hearing this on the street as opposed to
Yeah.
a direct communication. But, yeah, so Dante, if we can add that to your list, let's see if we can find out as well.
Pretty sure the last general board meeting, I might have mentioned that they were doing a public hearing to move that application process to be under the mayor's office, SAPO, which is essentially, so
Right.
like,
Yeah.
then we would automatically get notification if that happens. So I'll
Yeah.
look into it.
It's a street permit.
All right, so we have that one action item for you, so the guidelines, so I have that as well. And let me just go back, so for action items, and so you have, no, we don't have anything for you. and
I
so-
we can like all communicate, and if you have something, around the time of my June meeting or before, then we can like have something that we can work with that's very helpful, so that at least it's not just you who are saying, no, we can say like, our board has a position on parking, or our board,
We're probably gonna support some kind of connection to the conservation side,
It'd be 9 feet.
but it wouldn't be like it wouldn't be a big one, I don't think, because that can, we know that kind of pushes rents up a bit and can give people more license to charge more, but at least having parking spots goes up. So that's on the street, might be a start.
Okay, all right, thank you very much again, we're going to move on, you have a report from Parks?
Yeah, I have a couple of points, it's nothing major. We had our meeting last week, last time, it was supposed to, Chris Lodson was supposed to come, but she was going to Europe. So she came to Europe and invited, most of the people to go there. So, but primarily, the stuff we want to do, we had a visit from people from Community Body, that in the one prospect.
Oh, okay.
So, and that's why they thought that she was going to be there, that's why a lot of them showed up for that.
That's good.
And, but what we came up with is that we had almost a good 45-minute discussion about the last part of the project. And we all agreed that they would come back to this, for the June meeting with a resolution that we will submit to the executive board. So there will be another resolution that's gonna come in terms of what's happening at this Jackie Robinson. So we're gonna try to bring a resolution regarding the shadow that's coming out as a result of the building up. So we want to be able to put out a resolution that is sense of the committee, sent to the general, to the executive board and the general board, so we have a position.
Just curious in terms of timing, and also just to make sure that, well, no, we can do them separately.
Jackie Robinson School?
Jackie Robinson, yeah. Shadowing with Jackie Robinson because of the new.
Franklin.
Franklin, because there's a park, the park there, we'll
Yeah.
have
So
shadow.
we're working on getting a hearing date for that, a public hearing date, that will be in June sometime, probably right before the ULIP committee meeting. So if you have that ready before our meeting and you want to present it at our meeting, or if you just want to come to the meeting, whatever.
Well, and when is your meeting next month?
So the public, our meeting next month is going to be when, Dante, the 17th?
17th.
Ours will be June sixth, the very first Thursday.
Okay, so you'll
So
have
that-
that.
That Thursday is what? Okay,
So just, you know, as soon as you have that, send it to.
So we
me.
will have it before your meeting.
Yeah, send it to me, and then, you know, like, we can present it at either at the public hearing,
Okay,
so that it's, you know, on the record.
that's all.
You can get them as part of one larger resolution on it, it's great, but if, because we can always pass both, we can pass the land use, and we can pass, parks as well, and they're both positions of the board, so we're good in either way, so we're good with this.
Also, what I want to report, we got a new member who's, that joined the committee. She's in the executive board of the Major Owens. I mean, in the advisory board of the Major Owens, center. She's not a board member, but she's willing to become a committee president to report. Because the way we structure the committee for the various, community institutions, we have people that target them, or that is a liaison for that. So we're gonna get regular reports, and so sometimes I get to come, because a lot of time, we have a hard time getting the organization to come to tell us what's happening, so therefore we have somebody that connect with them. Same thing we did the Prospect Park Alliance, but we will have them in the June meeting to present their input in DC. So what we want to talk about is also the opening of the community garden on June 1st. So we'll try to open, so which will both the Maple Street and Union Street Garden. Hopefully they'll be open on June 1st. So they will report to us when we meet on June 6th what's happening in there. We didn't get a report from the Prospect Park Zoo, but they already announced they're going to reopen. So Prospect Park Zoo will be reopened out there, so we hopefully we'll get somebody to report for us what's happening in there, because they've been very active before that. We had to work on the park assessment tool that committee have, but nobody have been using it much. That park assessment tool is a Excel spreadsheet where anybody can go to a park, fill in the information for it, and then report it. So the goal is probably, if we can, to make it into an app that people can use on their telephone. You go, you take the picture, you put the picture in there, and you report. All the fields are already in there. That's something we want to do.
Where does the information that people send, where does it go? Does it come to the board office, or where?
We want to go to the board office. You come, so we'll find it in the board office. If not, if possible, maybe we want one or some other major, other part of the park and recreation with the city council, something like that. But I feel this is something we have to sit and discuss, is how we can get that.
No, I like the idea of that recommendation, that's good.
Right, because when we try to do that, we have spoken to the people, actually had a conversation with the district manager from the park. I'm saying, what do you use to promote the state of the public situation? Well, he said we have a tool, but we can't share it. So we develop our own. They say it's internal, so we made our own, so that way we can use it and people can use that. So I want the ability, the field to fill in our way in there. The only thing we need to do is the ability to, like in the next spreadsheet, we could upload a picture, we can put it on phone and tap it.
Well, listen, just because, and I like the concept, because I think it expands really in terms of the way we can report things around the district. But we get these direct things. 311 is supposed to be the tool that we use to gather this information. I have concerns about the way the information gets gathered and the way we get it as well and how things are done. So I think I like the idea. It's a direct line and the district office team is able to resolve things in real time.
Right.
No, but I think it's a great idea. I'm definitely looking forward if you, as you
I would,
continue.
hopefully by next year, for next fiscal year, we'll get all that done, because that's what I'm saying. And what else? One problem, what we would like to do for juniors to go, like you asked, get, is assess what we do here, because one of the questions that was resolved, the situation of the Union Street Garden and the MTA. Many years in the making, nothing happened. That's one of the reasons we wanted to get Crystal Robson at the office. Not so much a skate park, about what's happened. The project was 20 years ago, plans, pilots, nothing happened.
So let's just push that. I don't think
It's on their radar.
It is on their radar, because they did a presentation at the beginning of this year.
What is
It's
it?
a green thumb location.
What is radar mean?
It's a green thumb location, so we're gonna have to advocate for funds and resources to go to it.
Okay, is it something that's a budget matter or?
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
it'd be- yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Do we have a number? How much is it going to?
Don't have a number.
So I'm just saying, we're in the middle of
It could be
participatory budget.
substantial based on the
Yes,
plan they
that's a
have.
good idea for us to do.
It could be, I would say, it may be close, I mean, roughly, I'm not an architect, and all this, based on the architecture, but it may go for at least $500,000.
How much? How?
At least $500,000.
Oh, $500,000.
Yeah,
Okay, at least $1 billion.
not big.
No, well, $500,000 is not a big thing in terms
But
of
yeah,
state
that's what I'm
budget.
saying.
And that's what I'm saying. I think that's one of those things I think is a great candidate for participatory budget.
Right.
So, all right, if we can follow up on that, let's see what we can do, what the status is, and make sure that's on our radar for,
Street garden.
yeah. You disregard.
Union Street Garden, that's
So
what
let's see what's going on with that, and we have to get that as a priority.
But there are requirements, electricity and water, they have neither.
Right.
However, this year, the city has decided to give all community garden water. Because Joseph did it for me, was God, it don't spend money, but not every community garden will get it, so that will probably take a
I
little
guess they
bit.
So let's
So what do they do?
And last item, I know we're still working on it, and I think I've shared that with you and Dante, is the biannual meeting of all the park recreation and culture communities whiteboard. So I'm still working, putting the pieces together to do that together. One day conference, come and share best
Fantastic.
practices, ideas, workshops, get all the stakeholders to be there, city council, from the mayor office on that.
All right, that's a lot there, sir. Thank you very much. Executive committee, are there any questions for Parks and Recreation?
I have a question. It's not, I mean, how does a garden operate without water?
I'll tell you what they've been doing. They get a bucket,
Okay.
they
They
go
walk
to
down
the
the
fire
street.
hydrant,
Oh,
and they carry it by that. Or they could get a hose, hook up to the fire hydrant and make it in.
okay.
So a lot of it, it's been a lot of backbreak work.
Yeah,
And the last part they've been using is the rain barrel.
okay.
That were delivered by me.
Yeah, a lot of rain barrel, but
Nice.
what a lot of them are lacking is a
It's a team effort,
structure.
Dante.
To get a rain barrel.
Yeah.
And if they get 10 to 15 rain barrel on, because most of the volunteers get somebody to construct it and then they do it. That pays some money.
Dedication.
Any others?
The Zoom about when will
I think it's open by the whole weekend, and it's already out there.
Yeah, I saw the announcement on TV.
The last
It's-
is already
it's
out
gonna
there,
be
if you
soon.
pass by
Yeah.
the zoo, they'll be open, I think they'll be open by the morning.
Did I cut you off, sir? Do you have a question?
No, I was just saying that's dedication to a gardener, but
Madam Secretary, you have a question?
No, I thought you was finishing him, I was like, report. New services, right? What's up?
You're up next then, okay?
Well, this month, we didn't have a meeting, nobody turned up, so we attended and we were up for the first, and we were happy. But, March meeting, we were commissioned and given the okay to have a street cleanup. I must say, it was very good.
yeah?
Yes, it was very good. You know, we had teams, we started a little bit late because it was Saturday and we had a lot of young people don't wake up early to attend anything, so the older ones gathered early and waited for the young ones. And we started at Franklin, and we went all the way down to Nostrand, like down Nostrand, and come up. But then we had teams that was going through each and Rich Crossing, and they all met at Washington, and it was, even although we started late, we really ended on time. I must say, for Mayo Street, I came down Rogers all the way down, then turned up Empire. And the 30th Street was Empire, right? But you know, that's expected. You got people who park their big vehicles there and sometimes sleep there. If you live up here, you can see. So that part was in, but I find that coming down, it was not bad as we expected. I don't know. No, Debbie was there, so maybe she could kind of think about her street. But we did have the turn up from our committee. I remember our committee, we had 2 young ladies who heard about it and came. Melissa, I think Melissa used to be on the board.
Melissa Silverman?
Yes,
Yes.
right. She used to be on the board, and so she brought her
She
friend.
used to be, she's back on.
Back on now.
She's back on.
Right, because she did tell me that. She did ask me what was happening if the things were out. And I said, well, you should try again, let's see what happens. So I was very proud that we were able to do it. Dante, thanks for your supplies. We were a bit wondering if you had enough while you came through. And that worked out fine. So thanks, your work, thanks, your staff, and the board allowing us to do that.
No, thank you for volunteering to do that.
And if we have videos, we have things. I can send them.
And
I can send it to you.
There's a lot of garbage out
Yes,
there.
it
I
was.
I mean, I
it's a
was
lot of
out
garbage, yeah.
after I left there. I went home and got organized, and I went to get some stuff at the farmers market. And coming back on the bus, I see a lot of garbage on the. I'm like, well, didn't we just clean those this morning?
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow.
You know, and part of that conversation, it's always great to see people taking care of the community and saying we're going to do this. But at the same time, it makes me wonder in terms of who's supposed to be taking care of this.
Yeah.
Is it a matter of, are there landlords who are not taking care of properties? Is it a matter of, are there
There's
garbage
some of
collection?
them. I don't know sure
And that's what I'm saying. And some of it is also, is sanitation supposed to be taking care of some of it? So, I mean, I guess, one, thank you to the volunteers, but also, these are my plugs. When we see these kinds of conditions, especially when they're chronic, it's great sending all the stuff to Dante because it helps us identify what is the issue. If it's a service issue in terms of do we need to get sanitation to give some more TLC to a location, or if it's if it's a public safety health condition where it's like the landlords are taking care of their properties. Everybody's got to sweep it, and it bleeds into other things because I know that this has been a conversation at the district before about they wanted to go and reduce the alternate side of street parking, street cleaning. The feedback we've always gotten is they say, no, your street's too dirty. But what I'm saying is, yeah. But part of the problem is, okay, well, listen, why are they that dirty? So is it a matter of, are there other areas that we need to be looking into? Are there things we should be, people we should be holding accountable? Is it agencies we need to be holding accountable? So these are all the conversations and questions that are good for us to have because it helps us to identify where do we need to be concentrating our resources in.
Yeah, I find that, like the trees, the tree areas that has like the tree stuff, I find that was the most dirtiest place. It seems like, because you will walk here, it's all clean, and suddenly maybe get the trees all dirty. So that was it. And it wasn't really a lot of like animal stuff, but it was cans and
You see it all the time. People
papers.
throw things in the tree pits.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the drains need.
And the
to-
drains, yes.
The stuff is like embedded. I mean, I pulled out some as much as I can with the hand thing. But
Yeah.
I think that the DEP needs
Yes,
to
the
follow
drains, the
through on
drains.
some of those drains.
Those drains.
It's terrible.
Yeah,
So
it is.
on that subject, actually, in terms of like what you can advocate for, to start with, 311 actually takes a long time to use, I find. You have to go through a menu of choices and you have to pick the right one.
Yeah.
Are
There's
you referring
several
to on
different,
the phone call or using the app?
using the app, there are like several different choices for different kinds of garbage conditions.
Yeah.
If you want people to do this and do it regularly, they need to be able to just snap a picture and text it to 311, and 311 should take care of it. That's
Yeah.
right. I mean, that's. I find I have to sit down for 15 minutes if I'm walking on my way to the train or something like that. I can't really do it.
But that becomes part of the problem. I'm sorry.
I want to ask a follow-up question based on that one. How can we, I guess, either as individuals or as a board, provide feedback like this to the people behind 311 so they can actually make changes to it. Because, for example, you can't report a broken traffic light in the 311 app. You
There's a
have
lot
to-
of
it
things
routes-
you can't report.
Yeah, it routes you to a phone call.
Right.
And that's not something that anyone should have to make a call for. That is, should be extreme, someone should be able to just come out and look at it and fix it. Like
I
you
will
should,
say
Yeah,
that when
that's-
you do call, they do come quickly, because I've called a couple of times and they're there within an hour. They're there within an
it
hour.
would be great to have the app do that.
Yeah, it would be, but
Well, in that case, isn't it faster to have?
DOT has a
the phone?
different system than 311,
But
which
the
I've
other-
come to learn.
The other DOT related 311 complaints you can do in the app.
Yeah.
The ones that can cause
Listen,
accidents
yeah.
are a little bit less, lower priority apparently.
I mean, it's more direct if you get on the phone, but you have to wait. That takes a long time.
The
to do.
phone
They're just
takes way
they're
longer.
offloading the investigation to you.
Right.
They're outsourcing it to us, and that's not our
Yeah.
job.
And sometimes on the phone, they're not accurate.
But thank you very much for those again, and let me finish where we started. Thank you to the committee for this is our neighborhood and we're taking ownership of it. And thank you for that to all the volunteers.
one question regarding that. Yes, the tree beds have a lot of garbage there. Who's responsible for taking care of the tree beds?
That
Because
was my question.
it was a joke after a while. I thought that the trees had drinking problems because there were so many.
Yeah.
It was a running
Yes, you're
joke
right.
of the day. It was like-
Because they throw their bottles and cans
Everybody
right
that,
there.
down that street,
We
Rogers,
all
everybody
had-
that did drink vodka for water.
Yeah.
Yes, it was one of those
Seriously.
jokes. It was one of those
Small
jokes.
bottles, big bottles,
Yeah.
all
It
vodka
was
bottles.
all, I mean,
No
there were
mystery,
pictures
so we
of
know
the
we're not
day.
that
They throw them right in the tree
No
garden.
mystery.
Well, let me say this,
Beer
let me
on
say
St.
this,
Patrick's
and
Day.
Dante, maybe that's something we can confirm. My understanding is the tree pits are the responsibility of whatever the property they're in front of.
My understanding.
I mean, that makes sense.
If it's in front of your house, you're responsible
Yeah.
for
Oh,
the tree.
yeah,
Yeah.
but there was more businesses on my road, there was more businesses.
But that's the thing, it's,
Yes.
the work is
It's a building
responsible.
It's still the building.
Yeah.
And most of the
Not-
tankers.
yeah.
So you imagine people
Don't
can
say
put
what?
tankers.
Yes, they did.
How? Like, you can't even cut those.
No, picking up the garbage is the problem.
Is the problem, yeah, you're responsible for it.
Yeah, it's supposed to-
Yeah.
That's the understanding. Yeah. But definitely, I think there's more conversation that should be had, because, I mean, those are the small things that improve the quality of life. And you know what?
Honestly though, I've noticed that on certain blocks where there's like a person who takes it upon themselves to clean up, those are the only places it's actually clean.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
old guy on the corner who sweeps up every morning.
I have
Those
one too
blocks-
on Notion and Empire.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have, yeah. So that with the dog
Certain
food, that
separate-
way.
Yeah,
That's
she like
right.
really thinks
To
so.
Yeah.
that
But I haven't
point,
seen
I
that.
think what it is that
She's like,
you don't have
That's a good job.
a strong structural block organization. If we are to develop a lot more of the block organization, and also I think I forgot the next level where you combine many blocks together, because those things should be encouraged.
Like
I
city
forgot-
association or something like that,
Well, I forgot that somebody told me the name, like for example, if you're on Rainfall, the block from Flatbush, let's say, to Roscoe, you get yourself together, because where I live, I work in the block organization, I try to find out who's the person in the next block association, so we could do things together. So maybe as a board, this is something we should try to promote.
Well, let me throw this out. This is something absolutely we can do and actually we're charged as a committee board to do. And Dante, maybe you can send something out to the board about this as well. If you know block association presidents, one of the things we should do is actually keep a listing here of who they are, so that way we can communicate these things out. It's easier to have those resources and we can communicate out and get that information.
Because
We are supposed to keep this.
most block association, you would know they exist when they took the block party.
Yes.
Right.
There was somebody
Yeah,
there.
find that out.
So if we could find what that out, similar to what we're doing for the business people, let's have an event for them.
Absolutely. No, sounds right. All right then. Okay, thank you very much for that. So no action items for your services, so thank you for the information. One, all right, actually, I have two reports I'm gonna give on behalf of public safety, and then I have one just to update on nominations. So, public safety, we met on May 9th. There were 4 applications that were approved. One of them is a application for Pluto Lounge, 1130 Nostrand Avenue. This is an application for a new liquor, wine, beer, cider license and a temporary retail permit. So this was approved by the committee with some stipulations with regards to the time, where we asked them to limit their serving hours, I believe, between 5 o'clock and 12 o'clock during the week. And it's extended from 5 o'clock to, I believe, 1 or 2 p.m., and I'll get the specific details.
AM.
On the
1 or
weekends.
2 a.m.
2 a.m.
Yeah, you said PM.
Did I say?
Yeah.
I was checking to make sure you're paying attention. Yes, yeah, so on the weekends. So that was approved, they accepted that, so that stipulation, that'll be before, well, that's what we recommended to go before. Additionally, we did review 3 cannabis applications. There was one for Best New York Developments, LLC on 560 Flatbush Avenue. There was one that was proposed for 552 East New York, LLC. And there was one for, so 552 East, ENY LLC at 546 East New York Avenue. And then there was a third one for, this was doing business as The Growing Tree on 693 Flatbush Avenue. So of those, Best New York Development was approved to go before the board, as well as The Growing Tree. 552 East New York LLC was tabled. So they have some additional work they're going to do in terms of looking for alternative locations, because there were some questions.
We're coming on the trip.
Yes, only 2 of those 3. So you're going to be hearing Pluto Lounge,
Okay.
Best New York Developments for cannabis, and The Growing Tree for cannabis.
Wait, Fred, 693 Flatbush Avenue is Flatbush and what?
Between Parkside and Winthrop, it's that new one that
Didn't we
just popped up.
already approve a license at Parkside?
Was that the one that
That
caused trouble?
it might be. We might have already approved one for there. And this is actually going to
On
lead into
Parkside
some of the other
Flatbush?
conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Remember that,
Yeah.
at Socket?
Here's,
That's not.
so
here's,
aren't you falling within the 1,000?
here's the thing. So I'm glad, thank you for asking the question. This is what was approved. Now, and this is gonna go into another piece that some of the work we've done for the community. There is a 1,000-foot rule. You cannot have one within a 1,000-foot rule. But the other application has not been approved yet. We've approved one. It hasn't been approved by the state. This application can still,
It
apply.
has been approved by the state. I checked the OCM website, it went up for approval in, over 2 months ago.
Our understanding. Which one is that? This is, the one at 693 Flatbush.
Not 693 Flatbush, the one at Parkside in
Parkside.
Flatbush. The one that we previously approved.
That was
I
supposed to the school.
I saw them.
No, that's different than the school one.
That's one different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw them go up before the state, and it was on the list of recommended for approval by the state.
All right, we can verify that. Our understanding, I think when, yeah, Dante, if we can
Because
verify.
remember, there was this whole controversy because people were like, oh, you know, like, did they, didn't they, we're taking too long, and you know, like, and at that point, I remember telling you guys, that one was already approved by the state. Because I remember people, like, Public Safety Committee voted yes, and then the full board didn't vote because they didn't come before the full board. And there was all this back and forth, and then it went up, I told you guys it went up before the state and was approved. And then people were like, oh, why did you take so long, this and that, it was that one. So that one, I mean, I don't know if they're open, Vanessa.
We can, okay, here's the thing, we can confirm that, because our understanding is, I think, we spoke to the applicant, I believe that this one,
Is this Flatbush
That's the one we
Exotics?
granted.
693.
693 Flatbush.
No, the one on Parkside, which is the one
It's
on.
not Flatbush Exotics,
No, the 693, I know what that is, that's that new one.
I think it's between and Flatbush, they have like.
No, the one on
sign.
Parkside.
It's the one that's
No,
like next to the liquor store.
No, I know that, but the one on Parkside that you're talking about from before.
Oh, that was the one that we've been talking about all along. They might have already been approved by the state.
All right, our understanding was that it hasn't been approved, or they're in the queue, well, no. I believe they're in the queue. There's an applicant that we know is in the queue along with them. And what's going to happen is, and this is part of the conversation that we've had with regards to the cannabis licenses, because they haven't approved it yet, all applicants can come before us and get approved. What will end up happening is, if somebody gets the spot before somebody else,
Yeah.
you cancel out everyone else. So what we're doing as the board and the committee, what we're doing is we're evaluating the applications in terms of, you know, are they giving us the right information? What are they doing? What kind of business they're doing? And do they have the appropriate dates? What's gonna end up happening is, it goes to the state after that. If we approve it, it goes to the state and they're in the queue. So if they get to their application in the queue and there's
Okay,
nobody
no,
else,
no.
they're fine.
Puff Painted Piece, which was the one that we talked about first, was 733.
Down near Clarkson.
Yes.
Okay.
And 693 would be a block away, which means within 1,000 feet.
Okay.
Um,
Is Puff Painted Piece, is it approved by the state?
yes,
I thought so, yeah.
yes.
Fair enough. Well, so what we'll do is we'll
So I guess
confirm
that
that.
guy's out of luck.
Well, here's the thing. We'll confirm that, and what will end up happening is we approved it to go before the board. We will get the information before the board. If we know that it's an active application, we can send that notification to the state where it's like, listen, you know, this is being disapproved because there is already an active license on it.
Okay, and 560 is the one that's doing business as Edge Off, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't have a problem with them as a store, but my recollection is this application was for a micro business license.
Possibly, I'll confirm that as well.
Okay, because a micro business license is actually a different type of license than a retail dispensary, and it requires that they grow their own cannabis in Brooklyn. So, did they present, but there was no such question on the questionnaire that I saw, so we don't,
Right. Well, let me do this. Let me finish this part, and then we'll talk about some of the other administrative changes that we made. So those are the applicants that we put forward to be considered by the full board. To your point, some of these are going to be, there are going to be some technical issues that need to be resolved in terms of proximity that we'll need to address. And that'll be something that, you know, if we've identified the issues, we can decide on that and make sure it's
Right.
part of the recommendation that goes to the state. Either SLA or, not SLA, OCN.
okay.
The other thing we did was, the question had come up about the actual questionnaires themselves that we're using. So I was able to work with the district office and we redesigned that. So that's
Okay.
actually a specific question where we actually have, and Dante, would you be able to get copies of the, you don't have to do it now, but I mean, if we can get that before the board. We ask specific questions in terms of who the applicants are. So we ask for that information. Where are you going to be located? What's the street, the cross streets? We ask who the principals are who are involved in the cannabis, the adult use licenses. We ask also, we have them certify or verify, are there, you know, are there any zoning restrictions? Are you within 200 feet of a school, of a house of worship? Are you within 500 feet of a school? Are you within 1,000 feet of another active application? Or another license place? So, and there are a number of resources that we've identified from the state that actually map these things out. So, for any of the application numbers, when you put them in, it should be able to tell you right there on the spot whether, oh yeah, there's something else that's there, that's been approved. If so, that basically cancels their application, or if there's nothing there, they're good for now until something
Okay.
actually gets approved by the
But
state.
ask the question about the micro business, because I think.
And
that's
it's there too, because I think we do actually ask them what kind of a business you're doing, because there's retail, there's retail licenses,
Okay,
there's micro businesses, I think there's
Cultivator,
cultivator,
processor,
and there's
Okay.
different levels of-
But Edge Off is making chocolate weed. It's like cannabis infused chocolate,
okay,
which,
so.
so he might be applying for a different kind of license.
So the micro
Right.
business license requires, I mean, at least the materials from the state say that the requirement is that you grow your own in the same county where you have the dispensary. So that means he has to have a place in Brooklyn where he's growing his weed, which I
Maybe he
mean,
does.
but then you have to like confirm, like where are you growing your weed?
Right, and that would be a question that, well, I'm not sure which business we're talking about, so that is something.
This is the
560.
560, the edge off.
Oh, they go by a different DBA, I think. He
Yeah,
said
I-
something different for the
Unfortunately, I don't have
five.
that information from me, so I couldn't tell you on that one. But at least for the applicants that are in front of us, or then going forward, those are the questions that we're asking. So these are things that we'll be able to verify, they'll be
Right.
certifying as well in terms of
Well, for
what's
the
active.
micro business, you need to ask, like, do you have a growing location in Brooklyn? Because that's a very
Well, one of the
specific-
questions we ask is, you know, for all all the principals, do you have another license? So that is a question we have a question here. Do you have another adult use
Well, okay, so regardless of whether they say they have another dispensary license, the point is the micro business license is designed for people who grow weed and want to sell it. So you cannot apply, if you don't actually grow your weed in Brooklyn, you need to apply for a dispensary license. And that's much more expensive than a micro business license. I would bet my boots that they're applying for micro business because it's cheaper, but what they really should be applying for is a dispensary license.
Oh, and that's a legitimate question to ask as part of the, when they're gonna come for the board.
And like in that case, then it's a question of like, okay, who's your distributor? Where are you getting your product from? Because from a consumer safety standpoint,
And all of that is part of the debate that will happen for the board.
And same thing with edibles. There are like very
Yeah.
specific rules that are
Understood.
around.
Understood, and part of that is,
It's
and
called
part of that is,
micro what?
that, and the district office,
Micro-business.
well, hold on, if we get this, make sure we get this clear. Part of that is in the application process we've
Okay.
done, and part of that is the district office has actually created a resource sheet that actually outlines a lot of this
Right.
information.
I mean,
Because that was part of the conversation in terms of, we know that there's a lot. I think we want to make sure that we level set for the board knowledge about what the requirements are as well. So that's part of the stuff that's being compiled, so that way everyone has that, and we can, get that information out to everyone who needs that as well.
I think we might need really to have a meeting where we all understand this, because sometimes if certain people, like yourself, I read a lot of it because, so that when I vote for something, I know.
No.
But a lot of people who are voting, who really don't know, I don't want to read shop, without understanding exactly
Well-
what rights you have or what rights they have.
And that's a point
So that's
taken.
where, that might be an education for your committee to have,
Well, no,
and advise us all.
that's a point well taken, and
presentation to the board.
Yes,
Yes.
so that we know, because we're gonna vote for things that we just got personal, I don't like me, so I'm against it.
points taken, points taken, and that's definitely something that I know that
But it's new to
I've had
us.
conversations with Dante, and part of what we're looking at doing is board training, or board trainings. I know that we've had them on occasion for land use, so we've done those for land use. It's probably going to be helpful for us to do this for
Everybody.
cannabis. Additionally, I think, we might want to have a refresher with regards to the SLA applications as well. And that's the next step actually in terms of revamping that application. We want to make sure that we're consistent, we're asking the right questions, we're consistent with that, and everybody has an understanding of what the requirements are.
I mean, even for the public to know what the rules are.
And that's what we want to do, yeah. No, we want to make sure those resources out there so everyone has them. So,
people know what
again,
they're
training for the board, but
People
that's
are
not
right.
necessarily exclusive to the board.
Yeah.
Where those who want to know can have that, and we'll be able to get them the right information. Ethan, I'm sorry, so
I had two questions.
let's.
First question is, are we still building the questions for these applications for county licenses in the districts? And if we are, how are we choosing those questions? Do we get together, brainstorm them and vote on them, or is it gonna be done are we gonna be submitting questions for this? I'm not sure what the process is.
When you say questions,
Like for our applications, I guess, or what when we're figuring out what information we're gonna seek from people who are trying to open licensed weed shops in our district, what are we gonna ask them? And how do we decide what we're gonna ask them? I'm not sure what that process is or is gonna look like.
all right, that's a good thing to talk about. So one of the things we want to do is make sure we are asking questions that are relevant to the application, and not questions that are beyond the scope of what the board should be considering. Just to use an example let's look at it from the SLA perspective. It's probably good for us to know it's good for us to know what the hours are. It's good for us to know certain aspects of the business. Do we need to get into menu items?
Yes,
Yes,
actually you
maybe.
do.
I mean,
Why?
For what
You do.
purpose?
That's part
Not
of
part
the
of-
consumer.
No, they're required to, no, what I'm saying is they're required to serve food. If you have the SLA application. they're required to serve food.
You're talking
Yeah.
about.
No, no,
No, I'm saying it's for SLA.
I'm sorry, I was
No,
like,
no.
well, cannabis.
No, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. We want to make sure we're asking the questions that are germane to the application, what they're doing. For SLA, and part of what we tried to do with the application was, we tried to ask the information that we definitely want to know. So for example, again, similar, we want to know where you're at, we want to know, are you, are there any zoning restrictions? Are you, are you near schools, houses of worship or anything else? We do ask questions about who owns the property, who owns it as well. We do ask questions about, there is a question about who the landlord is as well. Just so that way we can start compiling information. We have landlords who consistently decide to rent out the weed spots. And there's a number of other questions on there, but again, that'll be shared out. But again, to the point, we want to make sure we're asking them that are pertinent for us to consider the application, but we don't want to start getting bogged down in the weeds in terms of asking questions that aren't necessarily germane to, within the purview of the board to ask. I've seen other applications, and this is not to call out the say anything. Like I've seen, well, what are you going to get? Well, I've seen one question before. What are you going to contribute back to the community?
Can I say something
Yes.
about that?
What are you giving back to the community?
Can I say something about that? There's actually, the state set up a mechanism, right, whereby they're collecting the taxes and
Right.
devoting a portion of it to the community.
Right.
And they specifically said that municipalities can't add their own special taxes. And to me, that means like, if you're asking for like your own special little give back, that's a huge no-no.
Yeah,
Like, the
exactly.
state already set up a mechanism. for
Right.
that.
And that's the point, and those are the questions we want to make sure that we're not asking, so what are you gonna do for us? What are you gonna do for CB9? It's a trap question, so those are the kinds of things we try to take out. So I think it'll be a little bit more apparent when we get the application to everyone, and obviously this is not the be all and end all. I think we can definitely have conversations about what goes in it, but we want to make sure that we're very focused in terms of making sure we have the information we need to have to make sure that safety is paramount in the district. Okay?
Are we still building that, or have we figured out what this will?
It's for the most part drafted, and we've implemented, but that'll be shared out, so, the members of the board will have an opportunity to look at that as well, to see if there's, okay, well, is there any places we need to improve.
How are they gonna get feedback?
I'm sorry?
How are they gonna get feedback, do we know?
In terms of the form?
Yeah.
Members have to send you
You put it in and send it back to the office. If you give you're not bringing it back to the next meeting.
So once you have it, one of the things I didn't want to necessarily over-engineer this where it's like it has to be a whole big thing. I think the major questions that need to be asked are part of the form. And there's other things, I think it's one of those things that's an iterative process. If there are questions we consistently ask, then guess what? Yeah, that's a questionnaire. So, I think we've captured the basics. Definitely, I'm not gonna say it's perfect, but I think it gets a big chunk of things. And as we go along, I think we'll add to it as well and we'll refine.
Because I asked it as a response to Sophie's question about where they grow their weed. That's a very relevant question, considering, there have been concerns about pesticides and other chemicals in
Some
weed.
of the applicants have spoken to it as part of it, and I need to double check, but some of the things that we probably ask are requirements of the license, where it's like, if you're doing it, you're required to do it.
Right.
So do you need to ask the question because it's a requirement
If
for
we're
license?
redundant, that's fine.
And if you're not doing it,
Yeah.
then guess what? That's the state enforcement act.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
okay.
That
that's.
becomes state enforcement.
but
I was
it-
also gonna ask that, if we're like
it-
trying to not be redundant with these.
And that's what we can, yeah.
No,
Obviously.
in terms of like, they are required to go through a licensed processor and a licensed distributor, but the thing with the micro business is it's a very special type of license. It's designed for small growers who want to also sell.
And are they applying for that through the state or through? I
Well,
assume
it's through the
right?
state and it comes to us. It comes to us for their.
Yeah.
If the state isn't enforcing or even caring how that question is answered, I probably don't think we can make much change there.
Well, maybe by asking the question, you kind of put them on notice that like, yes, you know what you're applying for. and
They're already on
are
notice. This is something that's being enforced by the state, where they are certifying that their products are being done by certain things. And OCN, from my understanding, has inspectors, they do all that stuff, and that happens.
only because,
I think that we have to assume that when it's passed by OCM, then everything is done legitly.
Right.
The issue that we're having as a community is the illegal shops.
Right.
Once it's taken over by OCM, we know that there's no pesticides in it and stuff like that.
but Vanessa, that's not the point. The point, as I'm saying, is are they even applying for the right type of license?
Well, we don't
That's
know.
what OCM
Well, that's for that,
That's
that's for
what
that
I would
applicant.
that they would
Right,
be-
right,
what
because the
OCM
state's
is.
gonna be like,
One of the
"Oh, take the
options,
money."
that would-
Right,
yeah,
they're-
that's what
like,
OCM
there's-
I mean, they're gonna check to see if they're growing their own weed.
Exactly.
How, we
And you
don't
messed
know
up, so
that.
sorry.
Are we gonna
But
check
it's-
that?
but it's
And
not
that's the
our
thing.
job.
No, but isn't OCM
We
going
are not
to,
the final thing.
once if they are approved by them, OCM I would assume would be
Yes.
checking
Okay,
their
so
weed,
first of
just
all,
like,
there's
to
been
make
huge,
s-
there's
yeah.
been huge problems with OCM, right? They just fired
Of
its
course.
head
Yeah,
for
that's true.
not
We
doing
don't hire them.
anything.
Right.
Second of all, it's only because like we know, like I had the same understanding as you, that they were selling like weed infused chocolates. I was like, that doesn't sound to me like a micro grower who is selling. Like, why are they applying for this type of license? I think it's worth asking the question, even if it's, because if it takes them 5 seconds to fill it out, that, and then we have to take that, and they fill it out, that yes, I am growing in Brooklyn, and here's my location, we have to take them at their word, right? But if they thought that they were just going to apply for the cheapest type of license and nobody would ask them, then maybe they have to think twice, you know? That's all I'm saying.
I have 2 last points on this.
What if they don't
One-
grow in Brooklyn then? What if they don't grow in Brooklyn?
Well, the point is, how do we verify that?
I was-
Like, how do you check
I'm
that?
not saying that we're gonna verify it, I'm
Right.
just saying that
Just scare 'em a little bit?
asking the question, asking them to fill it out, maybe it catches some people who just didn't think about it, or who just thought it's an easy, you know, like thing that no one will ask me.
Well, I mean,
Right.
that's one of the questions we asked them, what kind of license are you applying for?
But then the next question is, if it's a micro business, it's a very specific requirement that the state designed this license for people who are growing and also want to sell. If you're just selling product that you're distributing, you know, like from someone else, then it's a different license. Right, I mean, I'm just saying, I don't see how it hurts to ask the question,
I
and
don't,
if it's an
But do we
easy
have
one,
do we have a copy of OCM's application? Because I'm sure that those things should be on there in order for them to, you know, confirm
well,
that.
that would be a good thing, yeah, I'd like to see their application.
So we would need to see that.
They're not
before
gonna
we-
give us an application, they'll give us.
Okay, so then,
Yeah, we probably
Like-
get
like-
like a top sheet
They're not gonna
saying,
give us the application.
Yeah.
I'm just being real with you, it's not gonna happen.
yeah, Weed LLC is applying for a micro business license,
They
and
don't
this
like
is
that
where they're
much.
applying for. The details of that are probably not gonna be something that's extensive. Some of those questions we can ask in terms of, again, principals, who's in here, who's coming in there, and everything like that. Some of those are pertinent, we can ask those questions. And, you know, and I don't want to belabor the point. I mean, this is to say that, I'm not saying that we don't ask the questions. Do we have it on the questionnaire? And perhaps if we do this enough times and we see this consistently question we ask, we modify the questionnaire. I think we're gonna learn as we go along. This is something that's brand new for us. I'm sorry.
2 last good points. I'm not. The first one is, if someone is willing to intentionally lie to OCM and apply for the cheapest license, they're probably not going to go back on it for a community board's questionnaire. And if someone accidentally lies to OCM about the application, they're also probably going to go through with it instead of stop and do the U-turn and redo it from the beginning.
Well, okay, so if they lie, they lie, and maybe at some point they get caught or whatever. But if, you know, I just don't see, I mean, if we're asking them things like, who are your principals and all of that, you know, we may as well ask them, like, it's just another question.
We may as well.
If they're gonna lie, they're gonna lie, there's nothing we can really do about it, but
So,
we
so,
have
I'm
to
sorry,
ask
so
the
what's the
question.
additional question? So if they say I'm doing a micro business, what's the additional
Right.
question?
Where do you?
Where is your growing site? Give us the address of your growing site.
That's what makes it a micro business.
Yeah,
The fact that you
exactly,
grow
the
it
fact that
yourself.
they grow.
Yeah, but I think they put down the place, one of the questions we ask is, where is your business located?
That's
Yeah,
not
but
the
not
same.
right
What if I grow someplace
That's where
else?
they,
That's
that's
not
the
different.
the
Oh, so okay, so
location.
your question is the growing,
Yes.
Right.
If you grow, because if you say you're micro, you're telling us that you grow your own weed. So we ask you, where are you growing it?
Yeah.
Give
In
us the
Brooklyn?
ad-
I
give
mean,
us
that
the address
seems
of your growing
fair to
site.
add
Yeah,
to
in
the.
Brooklyn,
That's a
so that
question
you
to
know it's a
ask.
whole Brooklyn
okay,
thing.
so Dante, let's look at the form, we'll look at that.
Yeah, it's a good question to ask.
But they may
I
pose-
just
they
don't
can-
think it might move the needle very much.
Yeah, it
But
will
it
move,
doesn't
but-
make a lot of sense to ask.
Yeah, then they know that we don't be talking
they can
about
probably
least.
say if the state is
Yeah.
not
Well, listen, let me
requiring,
ask this
why
question.
would,
So
you
the-
know?
So the requirement isn't,
But Suki's saying the state does require it to be in the same
It does.
Yes,
county.
same
They do.
county, yes.
now,
So-
the
so
let
the
them
question
come
to
to
me would be
farms.
this, the question would be to me this, if we're growing it in two different sections, so say they grow it in Brooklyn, they grow it in Canarsie and they sell it in Flatbush over here.
But still Brooklyn is fine.
It's Brooklyn,
That's
it's
Brooklyn.
New York.
It's still Brooklyn, but what I'm
Yes.
saying is though, for the purposes of tracking, you know, like the proximity thing, are you within 1,000 feet of something else?
No,
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 not
I-
the
I-
growing,
I-
it's really
I-
selling, it's a
Okay,
proximity.
so I
No, but they track where they grow it as
you
well.
know, you'd
Yeah.
obviously have to ask the people at the state level, what was the intention
Intention,
behind that
right,
policy?
yes.
But I
Or
think it was an,
literacy.
I think it was an economic development priority.
Yeah.
Like, it was really, like, I think this was really aimed at like, you know, somebody upstate who grows weeds and wants to have a little, like, stand at a farmer's market or something like that. That's what I think.
Yeah.
But it was an economic development policy, I think, designed to like promote small local businesses.
Rather
Well,
than
let's do this,
bringing,
Dante, let's do this. Let's reach out to OCM and let's see if we can get a clarification for micro businesses in terms of how do we track if you know, they're applying for something, if there's multiple locations where they do business. So they grow in one space and they sell in some space, how are we tracking that?
I mean, that's fine, you know, as long as it's the same county.
Well, here's the thing, I'm concerned about it only from the proximity standpoint, in terms of, okay, so do we have a whole, you know, just, you know, like, there's one block where everybody grows their stuff, but then they sell in 5 different places in Manhattan.
I mean,
That's what I think was gonna be the case.
That
That
is what's
might
gonna
be
happen.
something-
That's not,
That
that's an
might be a
efficient
question.
operation, that sounds like
Well, and that's the reason why
Yeah.
it's good for us to ask the question, is like, do they contemplate
Yeah,
this?
well, the
So-
whole indoor agriculture and growing weed indoors thing is a whole other city of yes nightmare that I'm
And-
not even gonna get into
And all,
now.
yeah, and that's questions that are definitely fair for us to ask. But thank you very much for that. But you know what, let's move this down. I know we're
One quick
we're-
question. Before I move
Very
on,
quick.
I think best case scenario, if we do ask this question, you can probably alert the state if we see a lot of people
Okay.
breaking that, you know, that regulation and growing someplace else.
Right.
And they tell them, hey, by the way, like 3/4 of these people are actually not having the right license.
Oh, we're gonna
That
count
might be a
on,
good best case scenario.
we're gonna have to count on people, and that's gonna be part of the education process for the board and for the district. It's like, listen, as we're going through these, this is just gonna be information we need to share. It's like, you see these issues, you have to share it, and that's what's gonna refine the process.
yeah, the micro business is very 4 times the ordinary business, so there's something that is that expensive.
No, absolutely. Okay, all right, so that's it. So again, those are the 4 licenses. It's Pluto Lounge, Best New York Development, Pluto Lounge, Best New York Development, and The Growing Tree.
Okay. So you say that, I agree, is it on that table?
Aggies was not there.
Yeah, they said that they would be able to make it in June.
Yeah,
Okay,
Aggies, yeah,
okay.
yeah, Aggies wasn't there, and then 552 was tabled.
Okay.
Okay? So, and again, so there's additional materials that we're developing, we'll send those out to the board so that we can see those and people have an opportunity to comment on that. And we'll look at trying to actually do some kind of training for the board of the community.
Okay.
All right?
Yes.
So for the action items, those 4 applications, so we'll put those on the agenda. And the second piece of that, I just want to make a very quick, well, actually, Debbie, you're here. Did you want to talk about nominations very quickly, or?
Oh, so I submitted a form a spreadsheet to Dante today, to the one that he sent, and I kind of like, you know, made some edits and resent it to him, so that we can, you know, see who called and who didn't call, who emailed, who followed through, and be able to make those calls, tomorrow when we meet.
Yes.
So Dante has that. I don't know if anyone here hasn't responded to the email yet. If not, you will get a follow-up email. I told him to send another one to 35 people that didn't respond, and then we'll follow up tomorrow with a call and see how that goes.
He applied for a micro business, just to go back to the edge off thing. You're right.
All right, thank you very much for that. No other action items, from the committee, but we'll help you construct a report at the end of that, so that we can be able to do that for next week. All right, okay. Oh, and I apologize in advance. Anybody else who has a report that I didn't ask, and I apologize. Okay, well, good. Fantastic. All right, we are going to go to a chairman's report, and I'm going to be very brief. Just a couple of items I just want to repeat. Some of these we've already kind of discussed. So again, community fair coming up June 1st. I'm excited. It's going to be great. This is something that's been, you know, an event that's grown over the last couple of years that we've done it. Please share with your networks. Invite them to come. There's going to be a lot of resources there between CBOs, between community-based organizations, between city agencies, between committees actually doing informational projects as well. So please spread the word. Let's make it just as successful as it's been for the other 2 years we've done this. Attendance we've touched on very briefly. We are coming to the end, but this is where we really need to make sure that we're also holding together as well. There's a lot of things that are going to be happening. We're really going to need to make sure everyone's there for the June meeting, but we also need to make sure people are coming to their June committee meeting so we can do the wrap-up that we need to do. Okay? Again, if you are a chair, if you've had attendance issues, please let us know. We need to make sure that we're noting these. As we've just come out of an appointment process, we need to make sure that people understand, yes, attendance is something we consistently track. If there are people who are not showing up, and this is not to be hard or heavy about it, but it affects the board. So we need to make sure that we're able to have the conversations. If it's not something people can do, understood, but please don't hold the rest of the board back and the committees back from doing what it needs to do. I'm going to beat this dead horse one more time. Land use votes, city of yes is going to be critical. Please make sure that we are looking out for dates when the hearing is established, as well as the hearing for 962 Franklin as well. It's going to be a very significant hearing. Again, thanks to the committee, the subcommittee for all the work they're doing with that. Please make sure you are reading those recommendations. It's going to be very critical because it will change the way development happens in the district and in the city in the future. All right, nominations and elections. Again, so the nominations committee had met. I want to thank David Timothy, who's been elected as chair of that nominations committee as well, and for all the work that they're doing. We are making sure that we are adhering directly as the bylaws advise that we need to do this. Along those lines, one thing I did want to point out is that an amendment, a proposal for an amendment was sent out to the board.
Okay.
That requires at least 10 days notice. That's been sent out in accordance with the bylaws. Just to clarify, the only purpose of this amendment is to, it's almost administrative. It's a text change. That clarifies we are electing 2 members at large.
Right.
It's been board practice for at least the last 20 years. Somehow this has been a clerical oversight and it's not included on that. All the other board materials we ever have always outline the fact that we have 2 members at large. We just wanted to make sure that the board voted on this to make sure that there's absolute clarity in terms of how many people are getting elected for members at large. Okay? So that vote is going to be scheduled for May, and should that pass, it'll be operative for the June elections. Committee wrap-ups we talked about, so as you're having conversations with the committees, just please make sure we're documenting all the great things we do, we've done, and just kind of set the roadmap in terms of what we're looking to do as we go forward. And my last piece, and I'll probably have a few more for next week, but my last piece I want to end on this positive note. Primo Lasana was our first vice chair.
I was going to mention.
Yes, Primo Lasana was our first vice chair. Steal my thunder. Yes, so he opted to not reapply for the board, so he's no longer on the board. But for the reason that, yes, his family is expanding.
I had the pictures.
He has a bouncing baby boy.
Yep.
I believe it's Arthur Lasana.
Arthur, yes.
So, baby and mother are doing great.
Yeah,
I've spoken with Primo, he is tired.
Yes,
But I definitely want to take that opportunity just to recognize that he's moved on and he's doing great, his family's doing great. He's thanking as well, and for all those other board members.
I share a picture with my son.
And as I say that, also to acknowledge all the other board members who are no longer on the board as of this year. I want to thank them now for their service, and I hope to find other opportunities to thank them for the service.
Do we know how many new people are on the board?
And we do have a number of new people as well. So I just ask for all you Grizzle veterans to please smile and welcome them with open arms as they come. Yes.
Yeah. A question I have with that.
Yes.
Why doesn't the term expire at the end of the fiscal year? Or why doesn't it swoop up in the middle of
That is a charter thing. What happens is, and I'm glad you asked the question just to make sure we're clear. So by the charter, member terms go from March to March.
Oh, okay.
So technically speaking, the term ends I think it's March 15th or something like that.
Okay.
But what happens is board members stay on until your replacement is actually appointed. So it's varied over the years. I don't think I've ever seen it in March. I don't think I've ever seen it in March, but it goes anywhere between April, May, we've had it in June as well. But the replacements happened as of April 25th. So all the new board members were advised that they were appointed, which means anyone who wasn't reappointed, that was the end of their term.
That was our meeting.
Okay, so yes, so we absolutely have a number of new members. One of the things that we did do, Dante had sent out a notice to all the people who had fallen off. If you were a board member appointed to a committee, we said that absolutely you could stay on your committee as a resident member. Okay, and all those terms go through the end of the year, June 30th. After that, the board resets after elections. And then we come in and we reappoint committees and everything else after that. Okay, that's all I really had, but again, I just want to thank everyone as we're going committee members. Thank you for all the service and the hard work and the leadership that you've done. To the district office team for pushing us through, to the chairs. There's no back and thank you for stepping up and taking all these responsibilities. That is all I have. I will take a couple questions if there's anybody with questions.
No, I just have a suggestion because it looked very abrupt. Suddenly people are gone. But I think as a community board, I don't remember the committee on it. After they left at that next meeting, I want to make sure maybe we can do some kind of a ceremony to thank them for their services. They give them a piece of paper so they can appreciate it. That way you have some kind of a close.
Absolutely. I mean, that is definitely something I would thank you for that. And I think it's something I would definitely like to do in terms of being able to bring them back and recognize their service with that. Absolutely.
I know it's hard working when they come back and the superintendent was gone.
Yeah.
I didn't even know she was off before.
No, I
Miss
mean,
Evelyn?
yeah.
Who? Miss Evelyn?
As well.
Oh,
Miss
Miss
Evelyn.
Evelyn. Yeah,
And that's the thing. It's
I didn't know
sometimes,
she was off.
and it's one of those things I think we're trying to get better at managing that because it happens so quickly and we're downstream. So it's like we don't usually get notice of when it happens. I've heard more horror stories of it's like, okay, the day before the board meeting, all of a sudden they reappoint the new members. So the old board members all of a sudden are not there.
There, man.
We don't even have the emails for the new members. So that's been chaotic. Yeah, we're still trying to figure out a way to do better than that. But absolutely, to go back to your point, I think, yeah, absolutely, I want to make sure that we recognize that.
Maybe something you could have a regional meeting or somewhere close by. You have invite them.
And, you know, I love the idea of doing, say again?
Summer drink.
We don't, condone alcohol
I just said nothing but alcohol.
Oh, this is
Now,
a-
listen,
Oh, drink.
This is a
I
serious.
served
Never mind.
communion, so I just
I-
said nothing but
I just gave away where my mind was. Thank you, sir.
Considering how we.
like a blessing and then it go.
No, but absolutely, thank you for that point. Sue, yes, do you have a question?
For the committee fair, I don't know if this is a question for Dante, do we need to use these city-approved vendors?
Yes.
Can we get a list? Because like, I need to find a printer.
What do you need to print?
Like a big color map, a big one. Like poster board size.
Something like the new back, like the map in your back.
Exactly, like that size. Like a
You
color
see
map.
down there? Yeah, you see down there.
We might be able to just get one. Yeah, send me an email with
Okay.
subject line, large map,
Okay, but a zoning map of the district,
Yeah.
that's the thing.
because we might just buy it and keep it, so then like,
From the city has it?
well, if it just needs to be printed, then we can just find someone to print it.
Yeah, I think it's just, I mean, the city has websites where they have this stuff out in color, but I just need to blow it up
Yeah.
and print it.
Yeah,
But
there's a
Brooklyn
print shop right here.
Borough owned the map room, would they have that?
Yeah, I wouldn't explain much.
But so, like, that's the city, you can give me the list of the city approved vendors.
Oh, there's,
Or you can just
Yeah,
find
that's
me, you
impossible.
can find me a printer.
Yeah,
that's easier.
Okay, if I could, what would be helpful is identify the image you want to do.
Right.
Because the other piece of that too is, we may need to go to the city to get a size that you can actually blow up where you don't lose all the resolution.
Yes.
Because if you see it on a computer screen, when you blow it up, you may not be able to tell anything, the details, plus out.
Right.
So yeah, so,
Okay, so, how much notice do I need to give you?
I mean, you have the image now would be great. That's what you
You
could-
have 2 weeks.
Okay, so I'll email you tonight or tomorrow.
Perfect.
And, the 2 iPads you already have in the
Yeah,
office, right?
already got it.
And then do I need to buy the poster boards from somewhere special, or you buy them for me?
I'll buy
Okay, thank you.
and on that note, anyone else, any other committees, if you need any resources, please make sure
What?
Yeah, make sure you get them to Dante yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah, but the question is, are they gonna be tabled for each committee?
Yes.
And some kind of a sign?
Bring your own sign when you choose your
Sign, we barely have, we
Yeah,
have,
bring your own sign.
yeah, we'll figure, but yeah, the committee's.
Okay.
Yeah, tables, but if you have special requirements, any special requirements, please let them know let Dante know right now.
And we did
Take
invite
sign and
this-
write your statement.
Sorry, we did also invite Historic Districts Council to table at the community fair. We haven't heard back from them yet. I also talked to them about they wanted to present in Bueller. You know, I told them we have a jammed schedule. So I said the other possibility was to present at the general board meeting. I don't know if you have. Okay, so the community fair was the right call then. Okay, good.
Yeah. June is gonna be, let me reiterate for the 19th time, June is going to be tight. Because we're gonna already have those 2 land use applications we have to do. We are going to have potentially some transportation resolutions we need to take care of. There might be a parks resolution we have to take care of as well. In addition to having to run the elections. So it's going to be a really, really tough one. June is always a very tough month for the board, so I mean, as many things we want to advance to do them.
This is the time to raise the question, I think I raised it before. Are we gonna have the general meeting the week after, from the same week of the executive board meeting?
No, it's scheduled for Monday, 24th. Monday the 24th.
Oh, okay.
Now, the exec might be, is the exec on?
Yeah, the election is the 25th.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, no, because the problem is, I'm gonna be out of town.
Wait,
It's the 18th, exactly the 18th. No, it's not. It's not the 18th. It's gonna be.
Oh, okay. Then I'm gonna be out of town, then I may have to withdraw my, candidacy.
That's not a requirement.
It's not,
It's
I
not.
thought you had to be present
It's
for the
not a
election.
requirement. That's not a requirement. I mean, this, you know, and it's a practice that the board has done in the past. It's not a requirement.
Oh, okay.
It's not a requirement, so.
Why don't you submit a statement and ask someone to read it on your behalf?
And that'll be, and here's the thing, because part of what the nominations committee is doing is they are going to, you know, that's part of what's gonna get done tomorrow, right? Anybody who's gonna be a candidate, they're going to be requested to send a bio.
Right.
So
So
can I
you could-
bring me my political flyer and say I want to run my number and so that the general board? I just asked.
but I thought that was optional.
For the bios? For the bios?
Yeah.
Yeah, bios are optional, but I mean, particularly if you're in a situation where you're not able to communicate, yeah, it's probably in your best interest to send something out, so.
I run the city council, committee.
When will it be?
I'm sorry?
What date will it be?
The,
Twenty-fourth or
it's
twenty-fifth?
gonna be, it's gonna be on
All the
24th.
years running for the.
The final board meeting of the year,
Right.
is when we have
All the
elections,
years.
final board
I
meeting.
mean,
Okay, well,
get
no,
somebody to say it.
because I almost.
I'm gonna ask Ethan.
All right, okay, so with that being said,
Oh my God, I do have one thing. So, to your point, at the state level, in the state budget, they passed something that was like a pilot program for basement housing. It only applied to certain community districts. It was opt-in by community district. I think in Brooklyn, boards 10, 11, and 17 opted in. And, you know, I was remiss, I did not discuss the opt-in at my committee, but I know when we did discuss basement housing, some people were in favor of it. And so I don't know if there's a time limit for the opt-in, or if we need to go to our state official, or how exactly this opt-in by community board thing works, like what has to be done? Do we have to pass a resolution? Do we have to ask our state elected officials to include us? But if this is something that people want, I think it would be very much in our interest to get it done at the state level rather than through city of yes.
if you could send whatever information you have.
Okay, because I definitely already, Yaakov has told me that he wants it for his block, his community. He wants it personally, and, there's other people too.
Yeah.
You know, like, some of us wouldn't do it because there's flooding, but some of us would, you know, like, we're all in different situations in this district. But if there is a demand for it, I want to make sure that it gets done at the state. It's really preferable for it to be done at the state level rather than people saying, you know, I'm gonna vote for this whole city of yes package so I can have a base rate.
I'm just kind of surprised the state is actually doing Okay, well, you know,
I heard
let's just send the
about
information.
the opting in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it
You're right.
requires like state level action anyway, because even if the city removed the zoning prohibitions, there are state multiple dwelling law conditions on habitability that would prevent many people from doing basement housing. So a lot of it is unclear. I mean, like, I don't even know how to look this up in the state budget. Honestly, we probably should talk to like Myrie and Cunningham ASAP, but.
Well, let me dovetail on that. So one, let's get that information. We'll get, we can reach out to them and try to get that information. Or if you have anything, just send it to us and we can kind of.
I just saw the news articles, like,
Okay.
you know.
Well, even if you send that, we
Okay,
can try and see
yeah.
what we can, we can ask the
Yeah.
questions. The other piece of that, I'm glad you talked about state actions, and let's go back to the state budget. So, one of the things that happened, because one of the conversations we've had is around downstate. So, part of the state budget with downstate, as far as I understand, very high level, is that downstate has been funded through next year. Part of what is supposed to be happening is there's supposed to be an advisory board / commission that is going to be set up to examine the downstate issue. It is going to have representation from the governor's office, I believe, some representation that appointed by the state reps. And my understanding is there's probably going to be representation from CV17 and CV9 may have a voice in that as well. So waiting to hear how that develops and what's going to happen. But I think it's a good thing because, and I want to go back again to the fact that like the CV9 was very instrumental in being very vocal about, listen, the impacts need to be discussed, and it was unsatisfactory the way the process went down. So as we get additional information on that one, hopefully we'll be able to roll that out. I apologize, everything always drops during the summer or the end of the summer, so, but as soon as we have additional information, we'll make sure we get that out to the board. All right, so just in the interest of time, that's all I had. Dante, I cut you off. Did you have an administrative report?
Say one thing.
Okay. All right, so NYCHA will be reopening their wait list for the Housing Choice Voucher, Section 8 program. They're going to be opening that on June 3rd. It will stay open until June 9th, midnight. So we will put that in our e-blast, but if you know anyone who's on Section 8 or has a voucher, who is interested in the voucher, please send that information out, because that does not open up often at all ever. The Franklin Shuttle, the MTA will be performing a project which will replace the bridge over St. Mark's along the Franklin Avenue Shuttle. This project will initially require some weekend signaling work, followed by a 1-month closure of the shuttle. The MTA is performing this project during the summer when that ridership is low. It will start June 15th and it will run all the way into July. And that service, the shuttle service, completely suspended, but it will be replaced by a free shuttle serving all areas of all stops along the shuttle. Let's see. The board office did receive notice that during pre-construction activities for the combined sewer and work main replacement on President Street between Kingston and Albany Avenue, they conducted soil sampling pursuant to the regular agency protocol. During testing, they did find one sample that contained hazardous levels of lead. This lead is only harmful if it's ingested and is located underground. I'll be sure to follow up with the contractor / agency to get more information on that, but wanted to note that. The Department of Sanitation is proposing to amend its rules pertaining to the commercial waste zones. The City of New York essentially establishing new safety measures for workers in the commercial carting industry. This public hearing is going to take place June 10th. We will make sure that we send out that in our e-blast. They will also have a virtual public hearing that will take place on Microsoft Teams. So we'll make sure that we send that out as well. The Department of Health is proposing to add a new Chapter 39 added sugar warning to Title 24 of the Rules of the City of New York, requiring food service establishments to warn consumers about menu items containing high amounts of added sugar. While the department invites comment regarding the entire proposal, the department is particularly seeking comments on the health outcomes included in the proposed warning statement. This is the statement. Eating too many added sugars can contribute to type 2 diabetes and weight gain. So they're looking for comment to that. But you can comment on everything, but they really want comment on that specifically because that's what's going to be put on the package. That public hearing will be virtual via WebEx. We will put that in our e-blast. You can email if you would like resolution comments at health.nyc.gov. You need to submit your comments by May 23rd, so that's coming up really soon. But definitely want to put that on the radar. The Department of Transportation, the New York City Department of Transportation Art Program oversees the installation of public art on DOT property throughout the city in partnership with a diverse body of professional artists, galleries, business improvement districts, and arts, community-based organizations, and other nonprofit organizations. So their application is currently open. If you know any artists, galleries who, cultural or artistic, who this kind of fits the bill for, they can reach out to us, but we're also going to put it in our e-blast. That application deadline is June 30th, so we have a little bit of time, but definitely want to get this into the hands of the right people. If they have any questions, again, they can reach out to us and we'll send them the information, or they can email arts@dot.nyc.gov. The Rent Guidelines Board is proposing rent guidelines for October 1st of this year through September 30th of 2025, which most people know. You can send your comments to ask@rgb.nyc.gov. Now that we have a specific public hearing on that that's happening in our district. So as you know, that affects rent stabilized apartments and housing in our district. That specific public hearing is going to be held at Medgar Evers College in the Founders Auditorium, 1650 Bedford Avenue, June 5th. And that's going to be from 5 to 8 p.m. But you can, if you're not going to participate, to comment, you do have to show up in person. But if you want to view it virtually, you can do it on the Rent Guidelines or their YouTube webpage. Just of note, earlier this month, on the 1st, around 6 o'clock, there was a structural fire that occurred at 156 Midwood Street, a 3-story occupied private dwelling. The fire was located on the 2nd floor. There were no reported civilian injuries, and that fire was placed under control within the hour. You've already heard about the community fair. Please show up. I will send out a form for volunteers if anyone wants to volunteer. The June calendar is going to be all over the place. It's almost set, just waiting on one more committee, but we will get that up in the e-blast and on the website and in the local papers, Patch, etc., for folks to know when our meeting is going to be taking place in June. We do have religious holidays and Juneteenth during that month, so our calendar has had to adjust. And then always, if you know anybody who's looking for information, encourage them to sign up for the e-blast. Please, you get a lot of information. We're going to continue to put the public hearing information in the e-blast so people don't, well, at least know when they're taking place, and if they want to participate, they can. But if you know folks who aren't signed up, direct them our way, and we'll get them signed up. Okay.
And I just want to remind everyone also with public hearings, including the city planning commission hearings, you can always email them your testimony if you can't, because these hearings last for hours and hours, you have to wait hours to testify. If you don't have that kind of time, email them ahead of time. Or even up to, I think it's usually up to midnight of the day.
I think they always, because some people, they can't get on, and when they call them, they're not there, and I'm like, oh, what great work.
Yeah,
Come on, speak,
you can still do
Okay, all right, so we are now, yes, at the agenda. So these are the items that are being proposed for the agenda. So, public session. Call to order, rules of conduct. Presentations. Dante, are there any presentations that we need to do this month? Okay. All right, the only item I'm gonna put down for presentations is, Ethan, your shared transportation guidelines.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you can, 5 minutes to do a quick presentation on that, so that way we'll have that on.
So the cool name, you can call it the STAN guidelines, shared travel and network design.
So
Just submit.
stand up. Trademark by Ethan. Okay, so yeah, so if we just be prepared to give that presentation, we'll make sure that, we give that to the office, we'll make sure that's distributed as part of the meeting materials. Okay, so that's the only presentation. Then we have our SLA applications. First one is for Pluto Lounge. Yeah, for Pluto Lounge, I'm sorry. At 1130 Milford Avenue is the SLA application. Then we have 3 OCM applications. Two OCM applications. One for Best New York Developments, 560 Flatbush. And the next one will be for The Growing Tree at 693 Flatbush Avenue. Yep, but the business name is The Growing Tree. Okay? Yes, so we have those applications that we're looking at. Then we will have public comment. We will do acknowledgements. That concludes the public session. After that, we're going to go into the business session. We will have roll call. We'll have the approval of minutes. Then we are going to go into special orders. Special orders for this month are going to be the nominations. So this is where the nominate will actually, no, we won't do that. Let's do committee reports. So committee reports. This is the one where we'll actually ask for the nominations committee. So I'll put the picture as item A. Nominations committee. Yeah, we don't need to do special orders. So just the committee reports, nomination committee. You'll give your report.
How about the amendment with the virus? I want to put that up regarding the special ones.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you. Okay, well, we'll do that first. So we'll do the committee report. Nominations committee will give the report. We'll open the floor at that time. We will take the additional nominations and we'll close on that. Okay? Then, special orders, thank you. And that will be, we don't need to do special orders for that, I'm sorry. Committee report, nominations committee is going to do their thing. After that, we are going to go to district manager's report. We'll have a chair's report. Madam Treasurer, did you want to give a report from there, or you just want to do it individually? Fair enough, okay. Chair's report. Then we are going to go to voting items. Go to the voting session. And we will have the following items. One, we are going to have the bylaws amendment.
Follow by those resolutions.
Yep. Two, there's going to be, was it Stan? Is that what we call it? Yeah, so the shared transportation. We'll have the then we are going to have, what was the other resolution?
No, I think the resolution will come in June, so.
Okay, so that's fine.
So this chair application is a resolution.
Yes, that's going to be the guidelines that.
Okay.
Okay, after that, then we are going to have SLA application. And then OCL. session. And I'm sorry, just looking at notes, is there anything else? I don't think we had any other business items after that. So then, after the voting session, we don't have anything that's been tabled, correct? There's no unfinished business? Okay, so then we just, new business. And then we adjourn. Okay, that is a proposed agenda. Okay, so that's the proposed agenda. So part of what the executive committee is voting on, if we adopt this agenda, we are also moving forward the OCM and the SLA applications. Okay? All right. Is there any items that are missing that we can change? Hearing none, I will, yes.
My apologies for interjecting, but I was just wondering if, with respect to Historic Districts Council, if May might actually be a better month than June. I mean, I don't know if they'll wanna do it this soon, but in case other board members wanna hear it.
Oh, here's what we can do. If you send the information, if we can get them in time, if the schedule works out, we can always amend the agenda to have them added.
Okay.
But yeah, we, you know,
I mean, they probably wanna do like a 15-minute, landmarks 101.
15 minutes tough. We're not gonna
Oh,
do
okay.
that. That's
Okay.
campus, that's it.
Okay, all right, so I'll talk to them and see what they want to do. And then the second thing is, you are checking with OCM about those applications, right? The best.
We will
New York.
confirm about the micro businesses and what they're doing
And the
and
best
where,
New
what their
York,
requirements
that I thought they already approved, right?
And we can check that as well.
Okay.
Confirm.
Oh, no, Best New York was not the one they approved. Best New York was the one that we thought they approved, but it would be within the 1,000 feet for the grove tree.
So Best New York is one of the ones we approved. None of these clash with each other, I think.
Oh, okay, 693 Flatbush we did not pass, but the one on Parkside was one that we actually didn't approve, but I think the state approved it. So you were gonna check on that to see whether it X's out the one of
Yeah, the easiest thing for us to do is to put all these addresses into, there's a name of it, it's
Land?
proximity, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's an actual website where you can check the proximity of the license. So if you put the address in, it'll confirm there's another active license and you're not good. So it'll say if you're good or not. So we can check into that. Okay. All right. All right. Thank you for the question. All right. So listen. So this time I will.
Is there a motion? I move so moved.
Yeah, I'm gonna entertain. All right. So it's moved by Member Nicholas Almanor to adopt the agenda. Do I have a second? Seconded by the treasurer, Madam President. It's moved and seconded. Any questions? Any readiness? Do we have common consent on this? Okay. Hearing no objections, Madam Secretary, there's no common consent. This is the agenda adopted for the main meeting. Okay. All right. So, is there any other business that we need to consider at this time? Hearing none, we have completed our agenda. I want to thank everyone again, to all the chairs. Thank you for all the hard work you're doing. Listen, we got a month to go. We're gonna get this done. There's a lot to get done, but this is the right members. So we're gonna get this done.
Last comment. How soon can we get the name of the people for the training? It would be nice if we know by the end, before we start it. I mean, I would love to know before we start in September.
Oh,
You
yes.
can get everybody on it or
Just keep it
something.
clean. To keep it clean, it will depend on who is elected chair.
Right. Who will be?
Oh, it depends who,
Yeah.
sorry.
So when that happens, then, yeah.
We
The last point I wanna make on that, as people express their wishes, if the chair already choose who's gonna run each committee, can you send these people so they could have a conversation for the potential people?
for people to join the committees?
Because different committees, because we have people that were assigned to committees and never showed up.
Yeah, okay, here's, only because we want to end this very quickly. What ends up happening is with the way we assign committees is by preference. So part of what is required by the bylaws is that we canvass the board, so that way members basically choose what committees they want to be a part And, you know, we try our best to try and give them according to their preferences, so we ask you to rank 1, 2, and 3. We try and get everybody the preferences to the best we can. And the same happens with resident members as well, where we ask them to rank what committees they would like to be on. We try our best to, you know, to see what skill sets people are bringing, so that way, you know, you have people who are probably going to put their contributions to the committee. Ends up being an imperfect process, because not everybody shows up or does the things they need to do, which is part of the reason why I absolutely exhort all the chairs. If you have an attendance problem, jump on it as quickly as possible, so that way, you know, because you have the authority to get people off there.
Right.
And by that same token, you also have the authority to add people as
Add
well.
people, yes, I can.
But that's why it's like that communication has to happen. We got to track it, and we can just start nipping things in the bud before we finish.
So this is if this is something we could wind up by the end of September.
In terms of having
Of
committees.
the first month, yeah, telling all the committees, we should be done before.
Oh, the goal.
The very first general meeting. of
The
this
goal would be that the board should have it all taken care of before September.
year. Okay.
So the communications will go out. And I guess the only last thing, and Dante and I, we can talk about that offline, is we need to make sure everybody has good contact information with the board, because too many times people saying, I'm not getting emails because you supplied an email that you never checked. So that'll be some of the things we'll talk about. That'll be some of the things we talk about as we do training for the board and orientation.
Yeah, update your contact information.
Yes. Okay, thank you for that. All right, and with that being said, we are now stand adjourned. Madam Secretary, please report the time, 9:20. Everyone, thank you very much. And we'll see you.
Oh, freezing in here.
Yeah, the AC is definitely.
Oh, excuse me, participate.
Oh, you work.
That's the whole thing. Rather than have to shake right now.
Ah.
But I participate.
Which playground?
I'm still sore. Participate.
Pass the general resolutions,
Like, how long does it
You are, it's basically gonna be,
Should be only 2 weeks, but I
this
took
is how we feel that.
Medicaid.
This is our position.
because
Not
this is
that
it should be coming out.
some of this draft,
A few days after I got back from Tokyo, I was in Tokyo and
determine what should be in.
Listen, hearing everybody say the way.
You wanna help in that?
So I can pass on to you the shadow analysis.
Increasing my
Sure.
And, what they said about
Which-
education. Basically.
but
It was in their email.
Oh, yeah, that,
Right.
that would inform.
I would say that
very long
To
time.
reset
Yeah.
the,
So
No, listen,
then
you know,
the
and I'm happy,
question
you know, to listen to you about it and say, no.
No, I didn't, that's why I'm.
so you send the email.
Then you learn.
I read all